Right, today I've been doing my question and answer session, and unfortunately I do all my recording on my iPhone, and I use iMovies to edit and upload onto YouTube. Well, I can only upload 15 minutes, and my question and answer session has gone over into nearly 17 minutes. So what I'm going to have to do is halve it. I'll have part one and part two. Now, if you're not too bored after you've listened to part one, please listen to part two to listen to the rest of it. I do apologise for this. Well, thank you for Nigel of Muddy Boots for nominating me to do this question and answer session. Well, I'm going to do this from the comfort of my own home. I've got a cuppa right next to me because, believe it or not, this morning, the 23rd of Feb, it's -1 outside here on Merseyside. So I thought, I think I want to be in the warmth to do this. So let's get on with these 5 questions I've been asked to do. Why do I have an allotment? So why do I have an allotment? Well, here goes. In 2008, I moved to a property which I grew up in. It was owned by the family. It had a huge garden which was really overgrown. So in the autumn of 2010, after I'd sorted what needed to be done out in the house, inside the house, I decided then to have a look and start the garden. The garden is about 120 foot at the back, approximately 120 foot by 40 foot wide, and it was overgrown right basically from the house, maybe a little bit of a section wasn't, all the way to the bottom with brambles, weeds. Oh, it was horrendous. It hadn't been done because the family members had been living in there, were getting on and couldn't do the garden basically. It was too much for them. So I thought, it's time to have a go at this. I fancy having a go at it. I'd become interested in gardening at a bit of an early age because I lived there with my parents before we moved out. And my dad used to have hens and do a small bit of garden, so we used to watch him. So it was a little bit in me to have a go, and then seeing the garden the way it was when I went back there, I was quite disappointed. So I thought, this needs to be sorted. So I started basically just outside the patio doors. I made about a 30-foot section going out from the house where I'd put decking. And I put a bit of a bar in the corner and stuff like that, so we could have a bit of a party there, whatever, if we ever wanted to do that. Once I completed that, I then went on to the next section, which I fenced off the first section. I put a bit of a gate so that you walked through and into the second section, which I eventually, believe it or not, I never put turf down. I just kept cutting the grass and cutting it, and eventually it come up, I wouldn't say a perfect lawn, but it come up quite nice, which I then started calling that the family garden, where we'd all go, and when there was piles the kids could play football and do what they wanted to do, play their games. And after that, I then progressed on to thinking, my dad used to have hens here. I fancy having a bit of poultry. So I got myself a few hens, different breeds. I also got myself 2 Aylesbury ducks. God, they were real characters. Anyway, so then each section I did was roughly about 30 foot long. So then I fenced where the lawn was off, and then made me chicken pens and different things. You'll see them if you go back to my earlier videos. You'll see this garden I'm talking about, and my poultry and my hens. But you have to go way back on my videos. It's about 2000. I can't remember now when I first started putting videos on. I'll have a look at my notes in a minute later on anyway. So then I had my poultry area. And then after I'd done that and sorted that out, I then thought about, I fancy doing a little bit of growing. So this is where the idea of my allotment garden basically, which I made raised beds down there. I also had acquired a greenhouse for nothing. someone he was getting rid of. So I like to do this sort of thing in the garden, basically for not. I don't like spending money out and hundreds of pounds to buy stuff. I like to make do and repair and whatever. So then, as I say, I got my greenhouse, made me raised beds, and as I say, if you go back to my older videos, you'll be able to see this. But really the question was, why have you got an allotment? Well, by 2013, three years later, I was getting up to 64 then, not old, young 64, but I thought to myself, I might want to go do this garden as I get older. It's a big garden, and it would kill me to see it go back to the way it was if I couldn't manage to do it. And if I couldn't manage to do it, that meant I had to pay somebody else to do it. So I thought, no. We had a house over the road, a nice little house which only had a 30-foot garden. So we moved over the road to a smaller property which I'm in today. So then I was getting a bit bored after, I thought I'd sorted this house out, got it back to the way I wanted it, and I thought, I think I'll get an allotment. I'll get a council allotment. So I put my name down for a council allotment, and lo and behold, I got one quite soon. I was quite pleased, to be honest with you. And if you're over 60 here, you get your allotment half price. So, wow, I thought, that'll do me. At the time, it was £50 a year for allotment, so that meant I was getting it for £25 a year. Now, my allotment's 85 foot long by 30 foot wide, so it was, I thought, I'll start again there. Did I say 85 foot long by 30 foot wide? So it was as big as at least as big as my allotment garden. It was bigger than where it was growing. So I thought, yeah, I looked at it, wow, was that overgrown when I got it? And I started thinking, do I want to do this? But yes, I did. I like that. I like a challenge on something like that. So I took the allotment up. Now, by having this allotment or the council allotment, when I do get older and I can't manage, at least I can just give it back. I'm not worrying about it and just return to me garden here, which is all paved in the back, and I've got pots and different things, so it's very easy for me to do. So we'll move on to the second question. Why do I use YouTube? Well, I started watching YouTube. I think it was about 2013 I started watching YouTube on gardening, and I thought, I want to learn off other people, just see how they do things, because I was successful on some things, but many things I was not successful. Trying. And one thing I did learn off the YouTubers, only grow what you eat. I was growing stuff I wasn't eating, it was just getting thrown away, to be honest, just because I could say I could grow it, waste of time, so just grow what you eat. So that's what I was doing. So the first channels I watched was Sean James Cameron, and it was a hawk channel then, which very, very good. So I took a lot of his ideas. The second one, again, he was always doing things, always making things, was Rick Van Man. When he had his allotment, he's sadly now give it up and he's gone on to other things, but I do miss watching him. There's been many others, by the way, I'd watched as well around that time. But then I found Nigel and Muddy Boots, Mark Davison, Allotment Diggers, Terry of the Robotic Gardener, Tony, UK Here We Grow, before he was in that and he was on his own, which, wow, I used to love some of the things he did on his first allotment site that I watched anyway. I might have had one before that, but I don't know about that. So these are the people who love to share their knowledge, and I used to love to soak it up. So that was the reason, really, I started watching YouTube. But having watched that, I thought, wow, this is a good idea, this. I can record what I'm doing and be able to go back, look what mistakes I made over the years and see how I did things, because unfortunately this thing little bit is starting to go a little bit now and I'm starting to forget quite easily. So I find it quite easy to just go onto my YouTube channels. The month of the year than it did going back a few years. What did it do then? What did it start? Was it successful? So that's basically why I went on to YouTube. Well, that's the end of part 1. And if I haven't bored you by now, please stick with me and watch part 2. Thank you.